How's it going, everyone? We're continuing on with a look at the new close quarters weapons in Battlefield 3, and today we're going to take a look at another weapon I've been looking forward to playing around with, the SPAS-12. Being a shotgun, the SPAS-12 is found in-game as a personal defense weapon, which means you can use it for all classes. Like all the new close quarters weapons, you unlock this weapon by completing one of the assignments, and the assignment you need to complete for the SPAS-12 is These Hurt 2. The requirements for this one are pretty easy. All you need is 20 kills with pistols, followed by 20 kills with shotguns. So realistically, you could just get this thing after playing a couple of team deathmatch games. So let's get started with this guide and take a look at some of the general features of the SPAS-12 in Battlefield 3. Being a shotgun, the power of the weapon is pretty high, allowing you to get one-shot kills, especially in close range. But compared to the other pump-action shotgun in game, the 870 MCS, the SPAS has one less pellet in each shot, so it's not quite as powerful as the 870. Being a pump-action shotgun means the recoil is pretty low, and by the time you're ready to fire your next shot, your weapon will have centered back on target. The capacity of this weapon is pretty low at 5 rounds, but thankfully we do have extended mags available, which we'll talk about in just a second. Then as for the rate of fire figure, I'm actually not too sure about the actual rounds per minute fire rate. I'd usually use the stats from over at synthic.com, but they're unavailable at the moment, and the only other figure I can find is that the rate of fire is 0.4 seconds. I'm guessing this is the time it takes to pump the action to be able to make the weapon ready for the next round. Between the SPAS-12 and the 870 MCS though, the SPAS-12 has a slightly faster fire rate by 0.8 seconds. And it's also reported that the SPAS-12 has a slightly longer range. So all in all, you're comparing a slightly less power in that it's got one less pellet, a slightly faster fire rate and a slightly longer range. Plus there's the fact that this is one badass weapon to use, and I definitely had a lot more fun using this weapon than I did when I created my guide for the Remington 870. For me, I think that slightly faster rate of fire helped me out in that when I didn't get my one-shot kills, I could quickly fire it with a second shot before being gunned down. There is kind of an inconsistency with the shotguns in game in that they've got those random spreads of pellets, so it's down to pot luck as to how many shots land on target. Sometimes you can run around a corner and blast a shot into someone's head and get a hit marker, whereas other times you can take someone out just one shot up to some quite crazy ranges. So it is nice to have another pump action shotgun available in game. I think the 870 MCS was a lot of people's favourite shotgun since it was pump action, and just like the bolt action sniper rifles, there's something about using those pump actions or bolt actions that gives the weapon that authentic feeling. Seeing as the SPAS-12 in real life actually has a semi-automatic and pump action fire mode, it would have been interesting if they included this in game, since a lot of the assault rifles and carbines have the ability to switch between semi-automatic, burst and full automatic fire modes. I guess with the big difference in stats between the pump actions and the semi-auto shotguns, it would have been a little bit too much coding and balancing to get this weapon right, especially when you consider the various ammunition you can use with the shotguns in Battlefield 3, with each of these ammunition types having different stats on damage, range and spread. But since the weapon's pump action, it can be directly compared to the 870. And like I mentioned, my preference definitely lies with this new weapon, not only for its novelty that it's brand new in the Close Quarters DLC, but everybody loves the iconic SPAS-12, whether it's from previous Battlefield titles or Call of Duty. Unlike many of the weapons that were introduced as part of the Close Quarters DLC, this weapon actually is pretty competitive at close ranges. We've got a lot of the weapons like the LMGs and sniper rifles, and even the SCAR-L, which aren't too good on those close quarters maps. With the SPAS-12 you can basically run around like a madman with this thing and blow people's brains out as you run into them around a corner. Previously I never seemed to get much game time in with the 870, because I always found that typical rush or conquest games were too wide open for the use of a shotgun, and even on those team deathmatch games, even though there are some quite close quarters sections of the map, I still found that I could get better scores with an assault rifle or a submachine gun. But the close quarters maps, maybe with the exception of Operation 925 and Scrap Metal, I think the SPAS-12 and the shotguns all around are a really good match. But let's move on and take a look at my recommendations of a configuration for your SPAS-12 in game. For the optic, I'm not going to bother recommending any of the add-on sights, instead we'll just stick with the default iron sights. Not only can you get away with just firing this thing away from the hip, but there's no need to ruin the iconic styling of the SPAS-12. Because the weapon's got a small magazine size as standard, then extended magazine tube, which you get after 30 kills, is really quite crucial for this weapon. It'll increase the weapon's capacity from 5 rounds up to 7, which isn't a huge increase, but it's going to allow you to gun down a lot more people. And for the ammunition, I did try all the various types of shells, from buckshot to flechette and slug. I did leave frag rounds out because they're a little bit newbie and they don't really fit the pump action shotguns since they're lower damage overall and often need more shots to take an enemy out. With the increased range and the faster fire rate of the SPAS-12, the slug rounds are reported to be a good fit, but with the slug rounds firing just one pellet as opposed to those multiple pellets from the buckshot, you really need to be super accurate with your shot, and with me playing on Xbox, it's a little bit more difficult to line up your shots exactly in the middle of that circle reticle on screen. If you're playing on PC though and you've got that super accurate aim with your mouse, definitely consider using the slug rounds to give you that ability to pick people off at long range with just one shot. For the average player though, I just recommend buckshot, which is the default ammunition that you get with your SPAS-12. So that's about it for my guide to the SPAS-12 as part of the Close Quarters DLC. If you enjoyed my little guide or if you learned anything new, please drop me a thumbs up down below just to help spread the word and give my videos overall more widespread exposure. If you've stumbled across this video through YouTube search, don't forget you can subscribe to stick around for the remainder of these Battlefield 3 weapon guides. I'm focusing on the new weapons throughout this week and I'll be back to the usual grind looking at the standard weapons. You can definitely expect to see some more gameplay of the SPAS-12 from me in the near future, as I'll probably be using this weapon to create some kind of shotgun loadout as part of my Battlefield 3 loadout video series. Give me a follow on Twitter or Facebook if you want to make sure you don't miss any future uploads, as I always post links to new videos on those two accounts. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later.